Welcome to Demming Chronicles, where we bring you conversations with persons who turn up every day to do what is necessary to keep their business going. Today's program, we welcome Keron Rose.
Hello, hello.
Great to have you on the show, Keron. And we also welcome Lisa and Joseph.
Hi. So happy to be here, Denise.
Thank you very much. Demming Chronicles. We'll be back with you shortly. Demming Chronicles Season 2. Welcome back. And we have Keron Rose with us. Keron, tell me something. Were it not for COVID, what would your business day be like?
It would have been good. It wouldn't have been as fast-paced as it is now because of COVID.
So COVID is causing you to function at a faster pace. Explain that to us.
Well, my business is teaching people how to build their businesses online and participate in the global economy. So you would imagine that pre-COVID, bulk of my clientele is not in the Caribbean region. I have clients from Canada, the US, and then other parts of the Caribbean as well. So before COVID, it was good. People were looking to build their businesses online, but there wasn't the urgency in the region. But then due to COVID, the urgency came where people wanted to get their businesses online because, we were in lockdown. People needed to get paid. They wanted to tap into consumers outside of their country. So because of COVID, things really picked up for me.
So you're one of those persons, you're very happy that COVID has happened. Is it?
I mean, I could complain, but I can't complain.
Lovely. Keron, in doing some research, I saw you're doing something called like You Are Preneur. I didn't even know how to pronounce it. Tell me about that.
So that's actually a partnership with this particular workshop is with Unitrust. So Unitrust has a series called Yourpreneur, where they feature a wide variety of entrepreneurs throughout the country who are accelerating during these times. And we are now in the second phase where we are starting to do some workshops. And I'm kicking off the workshop series with UTC. But Yourpreneur is UTC's series featuring Trinidad and Tobago entrepreneurs who are excelling during these times.
That's great, isn't it? I was fascinated by the name. But let's go back to something you talked about just a little earlier, where you talked about helping people bring their businesses online. What would you say is the biggest challenge to bringing your business online?
Mindset. The mindset. That's it. That's the only challenge. Because we have all the infrastructure to participate. I can get paid easily from clients in Japan. It doesn't matter where, we can get paid right here in Trinidad. So really, it's just, are people willing to learn something new to take their business online? That's really been the biggest challenge. And I focus a lot on trying to help people understand what's needed in the digital age, not just from an infrastructure perspective, but where you need to be and how you need to think, because it's a different philosophy than just opening up a brick and mortar store and selling to people within your community. Now we can sell to anybody anywhere in the world, and there's ways to do that.
Just give me an example of how people can get paid apart from PayPal. What are other examples of how I could get paid online?
Oh, great. I mean, I tell no Caribbean entrepreneur to use PayPal because PayPal is not built for the Caribbean. A lot of the times our money gets stuck in PayPal and we can't get it out. So I'll give you two examples. If I have a website and I have products that I want to sell, I could use a company called WiPay or First Atlantic Commerce to process my payments. If I'm creating products right now, like if I have hot sauce or I'm selling cakes, and if I want to tap into the US market and the Canadian market, I could use a platform called Carib Shopper, and Carib Shopper allows us to sell our products to those countries. They take care of the payments, they take care of the logistics, and they pay us out in US dollars. And all we need to do is list our products.
And what is the cost for doing that? What does that platform take from your final payment?
So, okay, two examples. So, if you want to go with WiPay, if you have your own website and you use WiPay as a payment processor, it costs you nothing. They don't charge a monthly fee. They make their money on the transaction fee. So, it's 3% per transaction, which is your typical credit card transaction fees if you have a brick and mortar store and you have the machine. And if you were going to use Carib Shopper, what Carib Shopper does is they have a very unique business model where they actually purchase the products from you and they list it on the platform at a price with a little bit of a markup, but you would have already been paid for your products.
All right. Does the same thing apply if you're talking about services?
Yeah, so not for Carib Shopper, but for your website. Like if I'm going to use WePay, I'm a service provider. I coach, so I can either send people digital invoices anywhere in the world, and I can either receive TT dollars or I could receive US dollars, however I feel to charge a client. In that particular moment in time, I can make both currencies and I can send out digital invoices, or I have a scheduling tool on my website where you guys can book yourself in to sessions with me, or you can go to my online school, digipreneur.academy, and you can purchase any one of my courses. And all of that is passive income because I've already created the courses and it's all digital. So you can log in at any point in time.
That sounds absolutely fantastic. How about the other way around? If I have to pay for a service, how easy is that?
It's easy. The hardest part comes down to mindset again, because what's happening is as of December last year, 2020, all of the banks in Trinidad, every single one of them rolled out their new Lynx Visa debit cards, right? So part of the challenge is, one, we have a large part of the citizens that don't want to change their debit cards to these new cards for whatever reason. There's a list of them, right? Just mindset. The second thing is when they get the cards, because they're not accustomed to shopping online with the cards, they still will still go to a business and be like, hey, can I pay you in cash? And I would have to probe and be like, hey, do you have one of the new Lynx cards? Well, you could just go on my website and you could use your bank card to pay me online. So I'm constantly coaching people on how to use the bank's tools to do business with me, because again, it's a whole culture shift that, the rest of the world has been on for 20 years. I've had Visa debit cards since high school, but we've only just got it a few months ago, right? So culture change.
Tell me, you keep going back to mindset. Tell me, give me an example of what do you mean about that mindset that is holding us back?
Well, there's a lack of trust in the institutions, right? So in order for people to, as simple as just switching your bank card, it's a simple thing. The banks are mailing it out, but it's being rejected because why? There's a lack of trust in the bank, in the institutions. People think that, okay, well, because it says Visa, there might be new charges, new fees. It's not. It's the same thing, whether you use it online or not. It's just a replacement of your regular standard bank card. So because there's a lack of trust in the institutions need to do a better job at repairing the trust with the citizens in order for them to start believing in the technology and even wanting to use it.
Keron, you're talking about success in a digital space and a digital environment. What is needed for your industry and for that space to thrive?
Just willing people, because the opportunities are endless. So, if you are somebody that has a restaurant and you prepare your own meals, your own recipes, being locked down right now and you can't operate your restaurant, a pivot, I don't want to call it easy, but a pivot could be, well, why don't I start an online cooking school? Why don't I create cooking books and sell those digitally? There are ways to monetize online. I could start a cooking channel on YouTube and I can get paid off of YouTube right here in Trinidad and Tobago. I get checks from Google every month from traffic coming to my website or traffic coming to my YouTube channel. So we have a wide variety of ways to monetize. It's just citizens. Do people want to learn how to make money online, and are they willing to do it?
So what advice do you have for young entrepreneurs?
Whatever you believed you knew within the last 5 years, you got to learn everything all over again. Your knowledge from a year ago, a year and a half ago is irrelevant because the world has changed so much. And the things that were stable, that were earning you a living before, might not ever come back when we come out of this COVID situation. However, for every door that has closed, 10 more have opened. The question now is, do you have and have you been preparing yourself with the necessary skills to spot the opportunities to take advantage of it? Because as much as there are people that are struggling because of COVID, there is a lot of people that are saying, wow, COVID was everything we needed to finally start making some money and building our business.
Can we talk about a few examples of those companies that are just thriving under COVID?
I would say the hands down the biggest company right now, and it's really a pleasure to see the growth because of how small they started, was WiPay. What people forget is WiPay was not this big corporate juggernaut that they are now. In 2016, that's just the other day, they were a small company, didn't have an office, very tiny. To see them grow and now build the connections that they have built that have never been seen before in the region has been astronomically great. And then I'd say another company that I really like, that I see thriving, is a company like Chef Made. They sell gourmet foods online. Chef Made's doing really good. Look at things like Food Drop and Rideshare. Just before 2018, these did not exist in Trinidad, and now these are platforms that are thriving and giving employment to people on their own terms. When they were laid off from jobs, they can now, if you have a car, sign up for one of those platforms and start to drive people around and still make a living.
Think about WiPay, and I often wonder, how is it that WiPay is now based in Jamaica? What is it about Jamaica that will attract a WiPay that Trinidad couldn't hold on to?
Mindset. Like, they're so ready. They're so ready. Like, I have more clients in Jamaica than Trinidad. Why? Simply because the people see the gaps, they see the opportunities, they're jumping on it. The biggest issue I have in contrast with Jamaica and Trinidad is, even if things aren't perfect in Jamaica, the conversations are completely different. The things that are being talked about in the country, we are not even whispering about in Trinidad. And that's one of the biggest things, because if we're not even talking about it, well, it's going to take a long time before we even start to try to implement something. But the conversations are completely different over there. And if you really want to thrive in the tech space, Jamaica's a bigger market. The people are ready. They're pushing for more digital products and digital services because they understand that the only way for the region to grow is going to be through digital means.
I can't help but ask you, what do we need to do to change that mindset in Trinidad?
It has to be, it's all hands on deck. The reason why Jamaica is finding so much success is because it's everybody from the government all the way to the private sector. Everybody realizes we have a stake in everybody going digital. So this is my 6th year in Trinidad, right? Growing up in Canada, the reason why we were so sensitized to technology is because everybody understood their stake. So when I would walk into a bank, the reason I know so much about something as simple as Visa debit cards is because when you walked into a bank, they had workshops in the bank teaching you what these cards are, how to use it online. They taught you about online banking all within the bank. We don't have that in Trinidad. If you go to our telecommunications providers in Canada and the US and the UK, they're teaching you how to use your smartphone so that you could do business on it and just get more use out of it. We don't have that here. So everybody, the rest of the world, everybody understands that the more we can teach our audience how to use the tools and technology, the greater sensitization to technology will happen, and everybody's going to be better off collectively. We need to have that happen here. All hands on deck.
All hands on deck. And Keron, my final question to you. You said you've been back to Trinidad for 6 years. Tell me, what attracted you to come back home from Canada?
Well, at the time, the majority of my friends, because Canada is a lot smaller in population than the US, so big misconception here is people just look at the size of Canada and think it's equal opportunity. States has like 365 million people to Canada's 34 million people. the opportunities are not the same like in the US. So a lot of my friends at the time, I'm 34, so a lot of my friends at the time were not getting the opportunities that they wanted because it's a much smaller market. Everybody was moving out. So I had a lot of friends that moved to the Philippines, to China, South Korea, the States. And because I was born in Trinidad, I left here when I was only 2 weeks old. But I'm a dual citizen. I decided, you know what? Well, let me go see what the Caribbean is all about, because it was either I was going to move out west to Alberta and work in the oil companies over there, but I wasn't really liking the work schedule. This 2 weeks on and 1 week off in minus 50-degree weather, it didn't really sit right with me. So it just so happened that I decided, you know what? Let me go check out Trinidad. Let me see what's going on over there. And so when I came, it couldn't have been better timing, because in 2015 is when new technology started to emerge in Trinidad, and I got to see where all of my experience from Canada in the tech industry, I got to see the gaps in it here. And since I've started, I haven't stopped, and time has just been flying.
And as we bring this interview to a wrap, Keron Rose, what would be your parting comments to our listeners?
The time and opportunity is now for the region. I know many of us want to move and go over to the US, Canada, the UK, because we've seen our parents, our grandparents, our aunts go there and find success. And I would agree that, from the 70s to the 2000s, yes, the opportunities were there, but there's opportunity here now. You just need to, use Google, jump on Google what are the top skills you need to know. We have so many problems in the region, but problems lead to opportunities if you can capitalize them with the right skill set. And we have opportunities right here, right now.
Thank you very much, Keron. And on that very, very positive note, a young man who's just 34 and doing well in Trinidad and Tobago, having chosen to come back from Canada, and giving you quite an inspiration to get on board with the digital technology. Find the thing that impacts you, the thing that strikes your passion, get on board with it, and remain in Trinidad and Tobago and the Caribbean, because there are opportunities here. Demming Chronicles. We'll be back with you shortly. Demming Chronicles, welcome back. You're with us on Season 2 of Demming Chronicles, and we're happy to have Lisa Joseph with us. Lisa, what about Trinidad and Tobago brings you joy?
Oh my gosh, so many things. So many things. This year has been a very, very difficult year. Very, very difficult on many fronts. And what brings me joy is that every day I get up and I speak to my colleagues, my friends, my family, and despite every 10 negative things that are happening directly and indirectly to us, we still hold on to the positive. And that brings me joy every single day, because it's so easy to hold on to the negative. And but our Trini peeps don't allow us to. They keep focusing or refocusing us on the positives. And that is what brings me joy. And the other thing that brings me joy, Denise, is the creativity of our country and our people. We tend to find that humor in everything. The memes come out immediately and all these things. It brings joy to your heart, because you have to laugh about it. It's either you laugh or you cry, and it brings that feeling of joy.
Lisa, you talked about the memes, and I must say that when I look at the memes, I am totally amazed at how we would take situations and put it into something that just brings it alive.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as a communicator, how do you see us managing communication in Trinidad and Tobago?
Well, that's a very loaded question. How is who?
In general, how are we communicating? Yes.
Mm-hmm. Well, because of social media, everybody is a communicator. Everybody is an expert in communications, whether that is true or not. It seems to be their reality. because they believe that they are, this is their way of communicating, and whatever they're saying is factual. So, it's a good thing, and it's also a very bad thing. It's a double-edged sword. But that's in a general space. I operate in the corporate space, and that's a different level of communications that has its weaknesses and its positives as well.
What would you say are the challenges that the corporate space is experiencing with regard to communicating their key messages?
For the most part, I think it's a challenge, because I tell my clients this all the time, especially CEOs and executives. I tell them, I said, what part of your job description, when you signed up for this position, what part of it said that you have to be an excellent communicator? And 9 out of 10 said, it just doesn't happen. It's not part of it. And if you're in the job for quite some time, the roles and responsibilities back then and how they are now are quite different. So you have no choice, because of how we've evolved, because of social media, because of what's going on internationally. We have evolved into a space where you have to communicate. And in the corporate space, it is now mandatory that you do so. But you don't only do so from the top down, you have to also listen from the bottom up and from, side to side. So that is a big gap, because they're not accustomed to doing that. And it's a slow work in progress. And it will take some time, but it's a huge gap.
Yeah, I recognize that that's a huge gap, and I'm really happy that you brought it to the forefront. That a lot of our executives, there is a gap in terms of how do you communicate in this 360-degree approach. But you talked about listening, and tell me, what could we do to improve that listening? Because we all think that we're good listeners, eh?
Yeah, because half the time that we have hushed and listened to someone, we're listening to respond. We're not listening to what they're saying. So yes, the first answer is, you have to be still and be quiet and listen to what the person is saying, but not at the same time be consumed with coming up with an answer as soon as they're finished. You really have to apply proper listening skills to the situation at hand. And we tend not to do that, because and another aspect of it is that we're so focused on, because we have been doing this all the time, that we will continue to do this. We have to shake up things a bit. We have to do things differently. Not because you're doing things the same way all the time means that it's the right way to do it again. Because circumstances of today are different from circumstances of yesterday. So, listen and apply what you're hearing to the situation.
Lisa, you just raised an absolutely critical area, and that is the area of changing the way we do things. And you're quite right that a lot of people think that I've done this like this for 20 years, therefore, let's continue.
Yeah.
Well, what can we do to help persons like that change their approach, change their philosophy, communicate in a different way? How can we help them?
Mm-hmm. Well, the first thing I tell people is, why don't you think from the outside in? If you think from what your consumers want, what your stakeholders want, what your customers are saying, what your family members are saying, whoever is external to you, if you start to think and listen to what they are asking and then apply it in that way, then you can make progress. But don't listen with the perspective of, you have to do what I have been telling you along, because I know what's best for you. But listen to what they're saying. Think from the outside in, and then see what happens. And if you try that, you will get a change.
Well, Lisa, I certainly hope that what you're saying here will resonate with a lot of people, because we really need to start thinking from the point of view of the persons to whom we are communicating, as opposed to thinking from our point of view. But
Correct.
let me ask this question. If you could change one thing to support business in Trinidad and Tobago, what would you change?
One thing to support business, I tell them all the time, change of mindset. It seems like it's a common theme in your program today, but it is a change of mindset. Uh, it comes back to exactly what I've been saying. If you think that um, by listening to what your consumers are asking, then you can adjust the way you do business. You can, if you do that, if you apply that and you change your mindset of not pushing things out, but listening and encouraging people to give you feedback, and then adjust your business to suit those needs, then you can see some type of change. And try it, because right now you may be stuck in a situation that is not going anywhere, so I'm saying just give it a try, change your mindset and look at things differently and see what happens. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, again, go back to basics, change your mindset, look at something else and keep trying. Because what you're going to do, what, fold up and do what? We can't afford to do that at this point. Failure is not an option.
Lisa, tell us something about the kind of business that you operate. What is the nature of your business?
I own and operate a public relations and a crisis communications agency. We've been in business for nearly 14 years, almost 14 years. Before that, I have been in corporate world, dealing with Fortune 500 companies as their PR and public affairs manager for the Caribbean. And communications is my life. Communications is what we do. It's part of who we are and what we're about. So this agency is an extension of what I think is needed in this space at this point.
And what advice do you have for young people who may be looking at you and saying, I want to do a business like hers? What advice would you give them?
Well, first of all, if you enter into this space, know that if you've never worked hard in your life, you will certainly embark on that journey. That's one. And that goes across the board for any entrepreneurial journey that you're taking. But two, the communication space is such that it's a combination of experience and academia. You have to have a combination of both. It's not just a matter of I have a social media platform and I can do TikTok until whenever and gain X amount of followers, and that know that you're a public relations expert. It's not that alone, or it's not even near that, as a matter of fact. But it's an area that you really have to work hard at. You have to read, you have to speak to people, you have to throw yourself in situations, offer yourself as an intern in different companies, different consultancies, really learn the craft and work with the media, understand who they are and what they're about, and see how they think and how they operate, the good and the bad, and make all of that part of this whole portfolio that you want to develop, so that you are well-rounded and you're a solid communications person. It just doesn't happen, overnight.
And on that note, we bring this interview to a close. Lisa, what are your parting comments?
For our country, I'm gonna start how you. I'm gonna end how you started with me, which is, we have a lot of positives in this country. Let's keep it. Let's stay focused on motivating and inspire people. It's so easy to be taken away with all the negativity that's going on. But let's be kind to each other. Let's continue to uplift. Let's continue to help each other and support each other, and be kind with what you say and how you say it, and your actions as well.
And on that note, thank you very much, Lisa. We bring this edition to a close. Demming Chronicles, Lisa imploring all of us to be kind, use softer words, to look for all the positives in our country, and we will emerge. Demming Chronicles, thank you for being with us. Like and share our editions. Follow us on social media. Demming Chronicles, be safe.